Welcome back. We are once again, taking one keta paragraph, one concept of a Dvar Torah from the Sefer Ben Ashri. In fact, this is the Sefer Birkas HaTzaddik that was summarized, the Divrei Torah that are more palatable. And we are going to talk about Purim. The pasuk says, "Vayihi b'mei Achashveiros hu Achashveiros." So Chazal say, "Hu berisho mitchilaso v'ad sofo." He is the one who was in his wickedness from beginning to the end. So the Sefer Yemin Yosef asks, Chazal say, "Ha'ola l'gdula." If someone gets a position where he's elevated, mochlen lo al kol v'nosav, all his sins are forgiven. Im kain lo haya rasha mitchila v'ad sof. If that's the case, he wasn't a rasha from the beginning until the end. And he answers the al hamolech, that it's going on Molech, on his kingdom, on his kingship. Meaning, Darshu Rabbeinu, Chazal say, Shamalach me'atzmo. He became a leader. He was a self-appointed king. Gedula kazu lo chashiva limchal avanosav. And this kind of gedula is not considered that someone's sins are forgiven. But the Sefer Ben Ashri, Rav Yitzchak Hoberman Zatzal, says that it doesn't really seem appropriate. The Sham Gemara yesh shtei dos. There are two opinions. One opinion says that there was no other person who was fit for the kingdom like him. And according to that, meaning if he was an appropriate ruler, ma'atzmo, when the Chazal say he ruled mi'atzmo by himself. Shamru Rabbeinu, that what the Chazal said, even though he was not the son of a king, because of his status as a person, his importance as a person, his self-elevation, he was appointed a king. If that's the case, the whole nation agreed. Even according to the second opinion, the Yav Mamoni Yisera Vokmine, that he gave a lot of money and they established him as a king. It was also with the agreement of the officers of the kingdom. They were appointed by the previous king before them. And this is considered like the knowledge, he has the consent of the entire nation. And even according to this, someone that he ruled by himself, he acquired the kingdom by himself, meaning he had the wherewithal and the drive to become king. So that's me'atzmo, that it came from himself. The innate drive to become king came from him. Since he acquired it, and since the officers, the governors, or who his cabinet members appointed him as king, they agreed. So he should have mechilas avonos. His sins should be forgiven. And then the question goes back to the original place. Lama hiksha mechilas avonos demlucha. Why is it difficult? Why was the kasha from the mechila avonos of his kingship? Why was the question posed from the aspect of his getting the malucha, becoming a king, that he should be forgiven? Also, we know if someone marries a woman, his sins are forgiven. He married Vashti. Maybe we could say that this concept where someone who gets married is forgiven for his sins, we learned that out from Esav. It says by Esav he took machlas, and the Yerushalmi in Bikurim says that the lashon of machlas means mochel, forgiven. Esav mavor alav, it says in Kedushin, shedino kishal mumor, and Esav had the din of Yisrael mumor, Yisrael that kind of goes off the derech. How do we know that this applies to a goy? How do we know that it would apply to Achashveiros? So that's why the question was not posed from the sense of him marrying, that his sins would be forgiven because he's a goy. And how do we know that a goy's sins are forgiven? He says it appears the ena peirush hu michilas hivado. It doesn't mean that from the beginning of his birth he's forgiven. Ela michilas malchusa, but rather from the beginning of his being king. That's when his sins would be forgiven. Ukvar avra mechilas hamlucha v'nisuin, and already the mechila, the forgiveness from his becoming king and his marriage passed. We have to say there's a difference between a goy and a Jew. The lagoy ein moel mechilas hanisuin. For a goy, it doesn't help the fact that he gets married that he's going to be forgiven. Esther, because afterwards he married Esther. And if he should be entitled to have his sins forgiven, why does Chazal say that he was a Rasha from the beginning to the end? So when he got married to Esther, he should have been forgiven. Because Machlas was Esav's wife, the third wife already. And Chazal say that for her, when he married her, his sins were forgiven, and that was his third wife, and already Achashveiros is his second wife. So why does it say he was wicked from the beginning till the end? Ella, he ends off saying, you have to say that to a goy, there is no concept of him having his sins forgiven when he assumes when he gets married, or for that matter, when he becomes king. Or according to the opinion that says he was a Rasha from the beginning to the end, lo svirale hadrasha de ola legdula v'chasan mochelin lahem al kol v'nosam. He doesn't hold of the drasha that someone who goes to gedula, someone who has a elevated status and position, and a chasan, they are forgiven for their sins. V'havein, understand. We are going to analyze this. We're going to go through this again in the future. Thank you again, and please stay tuned in the next couple of days for Parshas Tetzaveh. Take care.